Mhm.
Hey, what's going on, folks? Another edition of Boxing Shit. You know who it is. Joshua City here, Joshua Brewer. Anyway, back live once again to talk boxing. And of course, with me is none other than Boz himself, the Slavinator. How's it going, buddy?
Yes, going all right, and there's again we got a lot of snow or quite a lot of snow, and then you got the fog, so it's all one big whiteout, as I call it. Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, we have the cold, but we don't really have the snow. It's kind of one of those recurring
right.
themes that has been going on here, at least in DC. And there are even areas that are more southern where they get snow, but here it's been pretty crazy. Now,
Mm,
I like my cold with snow. That's me personally, so I'm a
yeah,
little bummed about it, but I know a whiteout that can shut things down in totality, though. So,
yeah, it gets
different
too
story
much,
there.
Yeah, it gets too much.
Well, at
Just
least you can go out and make some snow angels. So that's
yeah.
a plus right there.
Oh yeah,
Salute, everyone. Yeah, we appreciate you jumping in again. Of course, we always love talking boxing. Shout out to Martin Dunstan. He says, "How you doing, lads? We're doing great. Appreciate you dropping
hey
in,
Mark.
Martin. Thank you for always coming through, sharing comments, having
Yeah,
dialogue. It's always great. It's always great to have those discussions, to chat about boxing, the history, of course. We love to get into those discussions without a doubt. So appreciate you being here, Martin. So wanted to start by giving a shout out to a fight that I was able to attend last night in person. So we had Deric Scooter Davis making his pro debut. He's a decorated amateur and all of that stuff, representing out in DC here, and this was a big fight. It was at the Rose Cross Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. Biggest crowd I had seen there. They were mentioning in attendance. Shout out to Discombobulating Jones, but they were saying that it was the biggest crowd that had been there, and that was in large part due to Scooter coming out doing his thing, that anticipated debut. I'll be doing a video constructing something that I will put out that will kind of highlight all that went down. But major shout out to Scooter. He was taking on Keondu Kim, another fighter who was making his pro debut representing Seoul, Korea. And Scooter, that body work is insane. It's just plain insane. So that's what led him to victory. And he was just landing sharply. And Kim really didn't have an answer, and the referee had to step in. And that was expected because it was going to get a bit worse. I think it was Bill Clancy who was refing at the time. But shout out to all my other fellow refs out there who represent. But big ups to Scooter Davis winning that pro debut. More to come, without a doubt. And
wow.
also, I want to say that Rihanna Rio, she was also on the card, made her second fight, and it was a good thing without a doubt. She dominated against Brittany Sims. It was a 6 rounder. She was looking sharp in that fight. Sims would offer a little bit in exchanges, but she couldn't keep up with the pace of Rio. So,
Hmm.
and shout out to all the rest that were there. Big ups to everyone, the whole teams and all that came through, and all of that good stuff during that event. Uh,
Look at that.
Duran Roberto sent 199 super sticker. Hey, salute to you, Duran Roberto. We appreciate you dropping by. All that good stuff. Especially appreciate that super sticker. We love to have you here. We love to have these chats. We're here to talk boxing, some of the latest stuff that's going on. But of course, we're going to dive into the history at some point because we seem to stray that way. But with that said, I guess we can jump into the big fight that happened on Friday, which was the ESPN card. It was headlined by Arnold Barboza taking on Jose Pedraza, Sniper Pedraza representing Puerto Rico. Barboza was coming off a fairly long layoff. Of course, when we last saw Pedraza, he was in with Richard Comey in what was a draw. Some saw it going both ways as far as either one of them could have won the fight, really. But I think a draw was fair. That being said, Arnold Barboza, he was pretty much in Cruz control as far as I'm concerned against Pedraza, and he picked up the, I believe, unanimous decision victory, and he continues to take a step forward, I guess, in trying to lure one of those big names into the ring. And Pedraza, on the other hand, he still seems to have something left. He has a lot of wear and tear, of course. He couldn't find that second gear, but hey, he's still pretty sharp when he's on his game, of course, and that's why he's got that name Sniper, because he can snipe those shots in from a distance and in close. It just all depends. He's pretty solid with those angles and everything. And I still attest as like one of the best wins, probably the best win that Gervonta Davis has in terms of being able to take him out while he was undefeated as a champion. That being said, what are your thoughts on the prospect of Arnold Barboza in the field there at 140 pounds?
Yeah, he seems to be another major prospect there. Yeah, a future challenger for any world title anyway, any any top dog there. And yeah, Barboza seems very solid. He's not a puncher, but he doesn't need to be either. You know, with when you have such skills, of course, and his style and all that. I think, yeah, he should be able to do well anyway in future. I don't know who he will end up fighting, but you got, of course, the guys you got there like, you know, at Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis, Josh Taylor, maybe not. I don't see him staying there so long, you know, to fight a guy like Barboza. Probably not. But yeah, the others, I mean, he presents a serious challenge because none of these guys that I mentioned are really like great technicians, I would say. You know, also Teofimo Lopez, we have him, I believe, also at 140 now.
Yeah, yeah.
So this will be, I think at least some of them will probably avoid him.
Oh
Probably.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. In all likelihood, that will be the case. Hey, real quick, shout out to Hyphy. Appreciate having you here. Hyphy says we here. Peace. Definitely always good to have you in the chat, Hyphy. Again, shout out to Duran Roberto says hello, gentlemen. Appreciate having you here. Of course, we love to continue these discussions. So all the more the merrier. And then big shout out to Big Fish Vega. Be sure to go check him out. And check out Fight Night Scores as well, where we do a lot of the fight scoring live in terms of looking at some of the older fights, controversial fights, all that stuff, and we score that stuff live. And thank you to Big Fish Vega for pointing out the gap. It kind of just threw me off in terms of I have it right here in the title. As a matter of fact, Navarrete Wilson, which was actually the main event of this ESPN card. I don't know, for some reason I was thinking Barboza Pedraza there for a second. We know that that was the co-feature, and since we're since we're certainly on that subject, let me reverse that a minute and say, yeah,
Mhm.
the main event, Emmanuel Navarrete, was for a vacant, I want to say WBO, yeah, WBO title there at 130 pounds. He was taking on Wilson. What is the guy's first name?
Liam Wilson, I believe.
Liam Liam Wilson. Liam Wilson,
LOZ.
okay. And it's funny, Wilson, he's out of Australia, and this was going down in Glendale, Arizona, of course. And
Yeah.
Navarrete, of course, we know how he is and everything. Throws shots from all angles, nonstop. He's coming forward. And this turned out to be the highlight of the night, actually, because we had a lot of back and forth in this fight. As a matter of fact, Wilson looked like he was about to take the title in the fourth round. He dropped Navarrete, and Navarrete was legitimately hurt. As far as what I've seen from Navarrete and watching him, this is the first time I've seen him hurt this bad. And it just so
Mm.
happened he had a little time just by virtue of the mouthpiece, I believe it was, and being there in the
Yeah.
corner, and the referee. Uh, I don't know what he was doing. He's, I guess, contemplating giving it to the corner to wash off, or whether or not he was just going to put it in his mouth, which he ultimately did, and they didn't wash it off. But he had some critical seconds go by. But Wilson had Navarrete hurt, legitimately hurt, and it looked like he was about to get him out of there. And then, as you know, the fight took a turn, and Navarrete started to come back. He started to land a bit. Wilson was still in there. He
Mm.
landed some other big stuff. But that being said, Navarrete came on there in the late end of the fight, and he was able to stop Wilson in the ninth round via TKO. And
Mm.
Wilson at that point, man, he was so game, but he was taking a lot of shots, and I think that
Yeah.
left the referee with no choice. But man, this turned out to be a heck of a fight in terms of expectations. I will say that Wilson won a lot of people over. I would believe he won me over for sure because he was talking, the talk of, hey, this is my first opportunity at a world title shot, and I'm gonna go for it. And I feel he really did go for it, and he almost had it. That I think that referee sequence that kind of messed up his momentum right there when he had the chance
Mm.
to Navarrete out, and he couldn't quite get back to that. But hey, I will say that man, he's legit, and this was only his 12th fight or maybe
Yeah,
13th fight, I believe.
13th. Yeah, that was what also kind of surprised me. I was looking his record said 11-1, and I was like, wow, already fighting for a title. But yeah, he's got a couple of solid wins. His only loss before this was to Joe Noine, who I know of, from before. But he also knocked out Noine in the rematch easily in 2 rounds. So what I could instantly see from his record is this guy is a puncher, no doubt. He can
Oh yeah.
punch.
Yes,
So
yes, no doubt about it. Shout out to Upside
yeah.
Mouthpieces, Big Fish Vega. Big Fish Vega also says ref should have taken a point for Navarrete for spitting that mouthpiece out. I agree right there. That was definitely intentional, and I swear it bought him probably a good 12 to 15 seconds of time in between when he actually went down and got back up. And yeah, it's just a sequence that, man, it just sapped that little moment right there where Wilson had Navarrete almost done, all but done. And of course,
Mm.
shortly
It's,
after they got that situated, the bell rang, ending the round, so he couldn't capitalize off of that the way that he probably should have
it's
been able to.
It's that old trick, like Diego Corrales used against Castillo in the first fight. Just because there's a loophole, even though you get penalized for that, it's still, it's kind of legal. I mean, it buys you time, simple as that. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. That is one of those nifty little tricks, veteran move,
Yeah.
veteran type move there, crafty
And,
type move. Of course, you got
and
to
you
buy
gotta
yourself
do
some
it
time.
quite many times before they disqualify you, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah, yeah, certainly. But yeah, that was definitely intentional. And
Mm.
man, I will say, I walk away from it saying that, of course, I'd be down for a rematch if that were to take place. I don't know if that will actually happen, but certainly, if it were to take place, I'd be down with that without a doubt. And
Mm.
I think that Wilson, like I said, had a pretty good showing. Navarrete, they were talking about Navarrete kind of being up for the fight and kind of coming in and motivated in terms of taking on
Right.
Wilson. I tell you what,
Hmm.
he certainly was woken up as he went through the process because Wilson did so with his fist, and Navarrete had no choice but to get up for the fight after what happened. So
Hmm.
hey, I'm down if they were to go at it again. I'd like to see both again. I think both, of course, we know Navarrete provides action generally each time out. Wilson, man, yeah, I like what I saw, and I think that yeah, if he was able to just hang in there a little bit longer, it would have made things a bit more interesting. So he has some things he can work back on. As mentioned, he's still young
Yeah.
in terms of total of fights, total amount of fights. So
Hmm.
that leaves opportunities for him for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. And this is a really big opportunity for him, or was anyway. I'm not sure if he will get another chance. But,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Especially they see you can punch like that.
yeah, that's the thing. I don't know really why they would match Navarrete up in his very first fight at 130 against somebody who really punches hard. But I guess they thought, his record, well, it doesn't have many fights and stuff like that. But that can also be deceiving. One
Yeah.
should never go by that. I mean, you had guys like, I don't know, Alfredo Lane, for instance, knocking out Bazooka Gomez. Who was Alfredo Lane at the time?
Oh yeah.
Nobody. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, yeah, we certainly can go back in history. We have some highlights, and we're littered with examples of opportunities where when it came, hey, guys took advantage. and made the best of it. And Martin Dunstan mentions that the argument is it was 27 seconds in total. Not sure about that,
Wow.
but it was long. Yeah, it was a long period of time for sure. For sure, Martin. So yeah, it might have been somewhere around there. I know it was. I know I was saying to myself, like, what is going on there with that mouthpiece? Like, come on now, like you have to
Yeah.
get this right. But yeah, it definitely hurt Wilson, I believe, and of course
Yeah. I
that's going
mean,
to add to conspiracy theories as to whether it was intentional on the ref's part and top ranks involvement, et cetera, et cetera. But hey, who knows?
yeah. I mean, had it been in Australia, then probably it would have been dealt with differently. But yeah,
Yeah.
it also depends on the judge. The referee. I mean, yeah, there are some referees who are just terrible. They ruin a fight, like that.
Yeah. That was probably the bad sequence of it. Otherwise, it was a pretty. I think the ref did a solid job. I don't recall him really interjecting much. I think, yeah, it was that moment for sure was the bad part of
Hmm.
that whole situation and all. But
But
it's
yeah,
one of those things. One of those things, man.
yeah.
We're here to talk about it for sure. Shout out to Rodolfo Rivera Jr. He says, "How's
Hey,
it going, y'all? Salute, Rodolfo. Appreciate having you here, without a doubt." Martin sends his regards as well. Rodolfo hollers back.
he's a
Then we have Lane
Rodolfo.
99. He says, "Guys, I enjoy your boxing talk." Hey, appreciate you, Lane. Yeah, we got to chat with you last week, man. It's always good to have you in here. It's always good
Yeah.
to have everyone in here because we love to talk about this boxing history. Well, current stuff, of course, and the history. And
Hmm.
there are so many different subjects and angles you can go with different things that it makes things exciting for sure. And Big Fish Vega says, "I've seen a timer up to 27 seconds." So yeah, that 27 seconds seems to be holding some weight there. That time in between when Wilson dropped Navarrete and had him really hurt, like super hurt. I mean, shaky legs, standing up, barely able to stand there. You certainly couldn't stand still. And man, 27 seconds, that's a long time when you're speaking about when someone's going down and then you getting that opportunity to go in there
Oh
and finish
yeah.
them off, which I think that the way that Navarrete looked, Wilson would have likely finished him off because, man, he's
Yeah.
really on bad ground. So, but hey, hindsight is 50-50, but man, crazy sequence. Boxing never ceases to amaze, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, if Navarrete hadn't been such a rather big name, a star, then probably he would have been stopped, just waved off.
Oh yeah,
And
without a doubt. Rodolfo Rivera Jr. mentions Navarrete joins one of the few Mexicans that are three division champs. That is true right there,
hmm,
Rodolfo. Salute to shouting that out. I know they were mentioning El Terrible, Eric Morales, Marco Antonio Barrera, others that have been three division champs for Mexico. And that's some good stuff.
I
Hey,
believe,
that's
yeah,
rare territory for sure.
I know a few others. Jorge Arce,
Jorge
uh,
Arce. Okay, yeah.
great fighter in his time. Yeah, great fighter.
Yeah. Arce, yeah, he was a good little fighter, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah, and a puncher. Wow, that's
oh
he. I
yeah,
mean, I
yeah.
think he scored like how many? I know he has over 60 wins, and probably like 50 or close to it of them are by knockout. So yeah,
I remember he had a good solid period where he was certainly one of the, as far as those smaller fighters, one of the top fighters in the world. You know what I'm saying? Was
yeah,
like, without a
yeah.
doubt one of
He
the top fighters.
he actually knocked out quite many of those, of his best names on his list. Like what's his name? That guy from Rosendo Alvarez. Maybe he was already past prime, but still,
Mhm.
Rosendo Alvarez, the only guy
Okay,
who managed to give Ricardo Finito Lopez a tough fight.
okay, and
So
Arce knocked him out.
yeah, and also the Korean guy, Yo Sam Choi, I believe his name was. He was a very good fighter, also one who died tragically later.
Okay, gotcha.
Not in that fight, but in another one.
Yeah. That's always a somber moment there when that happens in the sport for sure.
Yeah,
Big Fish Vega says Navarrete is probably the least impressive of the Mexican three division champs. Yeah. Still more to come. Still more to come. Of course, career wise, he's yeah, we'll see how he continues to
Well,
do there at 130.
yeah.
So far, he was able to overcome in this fight, but definitely that makes me wonder now in terms of, I would like to see that Oscar Valdez fight, and I think
Mm.
it'll be a very interesting fight because we know that
Yeah,
Oscar
that's,
Valdez, in general, when not going against a boxer like
oh yeah,
Chris
right.
Stevenson,
He's at
he could really
130.
bring
Yeah,
it
that's right.
offensively for sure. And
Yeah,
I think that him bringing it offensively against Navarrete, who was going to be all offense, they could make for a very interesting fight.
yeah, sure, for sure. A big fight. Wow, what, what a big one to make, of course, especially in the Mexican community. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a fight that was actually supposed to happen apparently, and Oscar Valdez had suffered a couple of injuries. Well, I guess it was a rib injury and it was broken or something of that nature. Then he came back a little too early sparring, and it was broken again or something to that tune, and therefore that kind of pushed him out of the fight. Where Luke Wilson stepped
Hmm.
in, of course, on short notice, but made a good account for himself.
Did
So
you
maybe
say
we
Luke?
actually get Navarrete versus Valdez next.
Yeah, I thought you said Luke Wilson
Oh,
or
did I say
you
Luke
know,
Wilson?
yeah, the actor.
Oh,
I
I might
think
have said it.
so.
I might have said
Yeah.
that. I actually might have said Luke Wilson. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Brother of the other guy,
Owen.
the other Wilson. Oh, yeah, Owen
Owen.
Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah.
Um, Martin Dustin says I could even clear my head in 27 seconds. Yeah, without a doubt, we all could for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Big Fish Vegas says I believe Fury had 22 seconds before action resumed when he was knocked down against Wilder in the second fight. Yeah,
No, not
yeah.
second. The first one that was in first.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah. The first one. Yeah, when
last round. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, when Jack Reese was the official, then he was
I
doing
don't
the
think
little.
so. I mean, all Americans say that, but I mean, I kind of counted, and I think that was, I believe that was around 10 seconds or something, probably. But I wouldn't be too sure.
Well, it's certainly an interesting one, and still to this day, I know there are those who have their thoughts and things that they share on that particular. They think that, yeah, Fury should have been counted out, of course.
Yeah.
And hey, you know what? I always say that, yeah, it was a hell of a punch that he landed, and it was a
Hmm.
hell of a chin that Fury showed being able to get up
Oh
when it
yeah.
looked like he was out.
Yeah, just to get up from that. But now I remember it wasn't that the count was 10 seconds. It was 10 seconds from when he hit the ground, maybe a little more. But the
Oh
referee
yeah,
didn't start counting, until after, I don't know, 5 seconds or something after it.
yeah, yeah. That's been a mention of Jack Reese and his involvement. Sometimes, I think he's a good ref, great ref. I guess you'd say from
Oh yeah.
there's an understanding and the amount of fights he's been in and all that stuff. But certainly, there's this notion of the third man in the ring and them not interjecting themselves into the action. Of course, I'm sure we
Yeah.
can rattle off a number of refs who we know if they're in the fight, then you're likely going to see and hear from them multiple times. And of course, I can name names. And
Yeah. You remember
he's one
Marlon
of them.
Wright?
Was that?
Marlon Wright, the in the first Butte versus Andrade fight, that.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He passed away
Oh
some
really?
years back. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. But no,
I know.
that
I
was
know
scandalous
many.
in that fight. That was scandalous in that
Yeah,
first fight for sure.
he was very unpopular after that fight. Oh man.
Yeah, that was legitimate. They robbed Andrade of his opportunity right there because Butte
Yeah,
was completely done.
yeah, he made a big mistake. He could have won, but he won't try to knock Andrade out. That was stupid. Simple as that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was definitive in that second fight, but Andrade had his moment.
Yeah,
He did what he needed to do, and he kind of got screwed out of that win right there. It sucks.
yeah,
But everything was stacked against him in terms of course, he came in as what they consider the B side or whatever, and
yeah. He was. He
I
was
think this was in
just.
Montreal, right? So
Yeah, very
everything
tough
was
guy. Yeah.
salute to Labrador Andrade. One of those tough guys in the sport, of course.
Yeah, strong also, very strong.
Indeed, he was. Big Fish Vega says, yeah, the count started kind of late. All the recovery he allowed Fury with walking to the side, then the other side. Yeah, that was a bit much there, Big Fish Vega. And the thing about it,
Oh yeah,
I thought that Wilder only won the 2 rounds where he got the knockdown. I thought it was all Fury otherwise, but I do think
yeah.
these are the type of classic game changers that really make a fight. And yeah, that was a good amount of time. It definitely was. And
Mm,
I understand why people feel the way that they do about that one because Wilder's main shot was going to be landing something big to try and take Fury out. And it was a
mm,
question of would he be able to do so. It didn't look like it was going to be the case early on, but when he did, it looked definitive and
yeah,
didn't happen.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I can see that the referee started to count a little late, but it wasn't. I think Fury beat that count once he started to count. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Without a doubt. Duran Roberto, Charlie says, do you think Eubank Jr. will activate the rematch clause? If so, who you got in the rematch with Liam Smith? Leading into that, I know that myself, Boz, I know that Big Fish Vega, Fight Night scorer, shout out Jim. One of the things that we were seeing heading into that fight is that Liam Smith has been in very good form over the last several years. And while this fight was really only 4 rounds and you didn't get to see a lot of the mix up, a lot of the tools and things and or whatever it may be in terms of them having some sustained exchanges that went deep into the fight, and we got to really see what it looked like in the trenches. Liam Smith did what he had to do. That round right before Eubank Jr. got knocked out, I thought he was landing some very good uppercuts, and it looked like he was getting ready to shift and kind of take the momentum. But I give it to Liam Smith. He didn't back down. He still, as we mentioned, he's in. He just seems to be in top form, top condition. Seems to have found himself as a fighter.
Mm.
And I know they've thrown out that stuff about the elbow or whatever. From what I saw, it was just Liam Smith taking the opportunity that he had. He was able to get in an uppercut of his own that really
Yeah.
snapped Eubank Jr.'s head, and the rest was history from there. He couldn't recover from that, and I think that the rematch would be very interesting. I had saw comments, I would say, or I was reading some stuff where they were talking about that was the intent of Eubank Jr. But we'll see if he does that. Maybe he does. I feel like that would be the best thing in terms of. I don't see where he would move on to next without trying to rematch Liam Smith and kind of get that opportunity back and try and make a statement. So I think that will probably be the more ideal thing, and I think that they'll
Mm.
have a lot of fanfare in that rematch, given what happened here in the first fight. Now, if the rematch does happen, man, I think it's still pretty much a, a fight where I would lean, or I think it's a fight where I would lean towards Liam Smith in the second fight, just given what he was able to do in this fight. And I think that Liam Smith essentially will come in as confident, if not more confident. He knows that he can hurt Eubank Jr. and hurt him in a major way. And Eubank Jr., he's going to have to overcome that fact that he was knocked out by Liam Smith. And of course, this was, I believe, his third loss, but this was the first
Yeah.
loss in which he was knocked out. So you
Mm.
never know how someone's going to react when they're coming back from a knockout. And I put my money on Liam Smith in some capacity. I don't know that he knocks him out again. It would all depend on how this punch resistance or whatever it may be for Eubank Jr., how it ends up being here in the aftermath. But certainly, I don't think that Liam Smith would back down, and I think he continued to press forward, trying to capitalize and continue to do what he did in that first fight. So even if it goes the distance, in my opinion, I could see him doing enough, and it's going to be the onus would be on Eubank Jr. to change the narrative for sure at this point. What do you
Mm.
think, Boz?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. First thing I must say, well, I was watching for the first time the other day that fight when Liam Smith lost to Mongia, and
Oh yeah.
Also here, I noticed I really like the way he throws his punches. He's rather good. I mean, rather precise. And all that. Has
Yeah.
good timing. And now that he has also seems to have actually upped his power, or however you say it, increased it. Now he's very dangerous for most fighters
Yeah.
at 160. So yeah, Eubank, as you said, got knocked out for the first time, and that really must hurt, his whole, persona, ego, and
Yeah.
all that. And also, he got. I mean, if he had been knocked out in 168 by some guy, who really can, who is known as a big puncher, that would have been different. But he was knocked out by a former light middleweight, who
Mm-hmm.
wasn't really known as a really huge puncher even at 154, but
Yeah. Yeah.
as
That's true.
so I think he will probably want to prove that was just one bad night and he got caught. So probably I think he will want this rematch to happen, and to be to show everybody this was just a one-off thing, one bad night. He's not better than me, and it can happen to almost anyone in boxing.
Yeah, yeah. Certainly when you suffer that knockout, I was just thinking, Liam Smith is from a boxing family, but then again,
Yeah,
so is Eubank Jr., you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
they're both from boxing families. I feel like I've
his
seen Liam
cousin.
Smith continue to grow
Yeah,
over the years. I do think that Liam Smith, from what I've seen from when I always gauge it kind of on that Canelo fight, I think he's certainly gotten better since we saw him in that Canelo fight at the Dallas Stadium there back in, I don't even know what year it was. It seems like forever ago at this point.
16, 17, something like
Okay,
that.
yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, so Liam Smith, yeah, I think he's gotten better since then. And Eubank Jr., just weighing their careers to this point, Eubank Jr., of course, he switched his style now and he's fighting a bit more different, more in that mold of what Roy Jones has been able to share with him and teach with him. And he's had a number of years at this point working, working with Roy. So, in theory, I think that he should pretty much have the majority of those teachings down, and he seems to he in my opinion he seemed to be as comfortable fighting that style as he has been from when I seen when he first started with Roy. Now, that being said, one of the things that we were touching on, and I think it still holds true, is as it relates to Eubank Jr., I just don't know if he has. I don't know what that signature win is for him. I don't know just as a fighter who he is really. You know what I'm saying? Because the
yeah,
opportunities we've seen him in with the biggest names, those that were going to give him the stiffest test, which was George Rose, of course, and Billy Joe Saunders. We didn't really
he
see much from
lost.
him that made us think that okay, this guy is going to go on to be a world champion of this division or that division or whatever it may be. Or he's going to go on to make noise and continue to
Yeah,
be one of the top
exactly.
fighters in the sport. So I think that still kind of holds true right now.
He just doesn't have, like his father. He was very. So, I mean, when he fought Nigel Benn the first time, nobody really expected him to win. So he really, put on quite a fight and even stopped Nigel Benn.
Yeah,
And but when it comes to his son, when I remember the Groves fight, he just simply didn't give it all. I felt, because Groves was a lot more. I mean, aggressive and just a lot. His heart was in it a lot more than Eubank. Eubank was just trying to survive on his natural ability, but when you're fighting someone like Groves, who also has a lot of that natural ability, but also has the heart, and all that, the spirit, then it's hard to win, of course, that way.
yeah, 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 without a doubt. And Duran Roberto says his father was formidable.
He
Indeed,
was.
indeed, he was a heck of a showman. I mean, he just had that flash, pizzazz, and style to him. in all facets, and he still is.
Yeah,
Pretty much a showman, and he has that sort of dominating character about him, even here as being the
yeah,
father of Chris Eubank Jr., who is now in his career and everything. And I think
he,
that
yeah,
I still think that the father pretty much is the most interesting thing about the whole dynamic and relationship, which
yeah.
that in a sense could speak volumes in some sense.
He really, believed in himself. He was very, very self-confident. You could see that always. But the way he spoke, everything carried himself in the ring and everywhere. And his son just doesn't have that same quality. I mean,
Yeah.
he does like to, I would say it. Yeah, he does like to pose, and kind of pretend like he is the true
Yeah.
successor of his old
Yeah.
man. But in those terms, he's not really.
Oh yeah, yeah, without a doubt. Duran Roberto says Eubank Jr. won me over eventually. Indeed, I think with many, yeah, especially when you look back on his career, of course, and seeing him now as in his role being the father, and he still has that shine about him, and that personality. I love his
Mm,
personality. As a matter of fact, my girlfriend, she loves his personality. He's an
yeah,
eccentric character, and I think that you have individuals like that in boxing. You have those that are more quiet. It looks like Eubank Jr. is more on the quiet side in some sense. But
yeah,
I love the father. I mean, I think that he is like entertaining in himself, just being himself and who he is. And
mm,
with Eubank Jr., the highlight of his career, sort of as far as what we were talking about last time we had this discussion, was his knockout over Avani Yildirim, and that was
yeah.
a nice
Yeah,
knockout. It's gonna look good on the highlight reels and all, but of course that doesn't speak to what he is as a
mm,
fighter overall, though.
yeah. Yeah, I think Eubank Senior could pretty much do it all as a fighter. His son also has some of the same kind of qualities, but as I said, not so much mentally, and But
Yeah,
while Nigel Benn was more of a puncher, had some boxing skills, but wasn't that clever. I mean, Eubank was really both clever and
yeah,
had a great chin. He could punch also, and
mm-hmm.
I thought, I was thinking about. I remember when we were talking about potential. It's such a shame that those fights that he wanted to have with Tony, and Roy
Oh
Jones
yeah,
himself, they never materialized. Such a great shame. I would have
yeah,
loved to see. I mean, everybody would have loved to see that. And I gave him a realistic chance against both of those guys, even though
yeah,
I don't think I would think I would have favored him maybe to win, but I think he would have a good chance anyway to win.
yeah.
So
Certainly, you would
yeah,
favor their peaks over his peak. But
yeah,
that being said, certainly someone in there who has a chance who would have made it very interesting, and
mm,
it wouldn't been just a complete foregone conclusion. So yeah, that would have made for some interesting fights, series of fights potentially as well, and a lot of good back
mm,
and forth.
yeah,
Especially Tony and not
but
and Chrissy Bank Senior. That would have been interesting. When Duran Roberto says private, I'd say yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you're spot on there. That's probably
yeah,
more appropriate there. Duran Roberto in that Eubank Jr. is more on the private side. Which
mm,
hey, that's kind of the way to be in most regards. I try to stay private myself. I'm sure
just
a lot of us do.
I was just thinking, what would have been the best probably those two different matchups, Eubank versus Tony and Ben versus Jones. Come on, man, that would have been
Oh yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 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 and yeah. Duran Roberto says, "Remember that trash talking on that show?" Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That made you think that it was gonna go down. There was some trash talking they had going on.
Tony it was so funny, man. Tony just
Yeah.
trash talking and Eubank trying to be the gentleman, like, and in the end he just goes, "It seems you are purely ignorant, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so funny."
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Yeah. Shout out James Tony. We were talking about him, I
Yeah.
believe, last week as well. The
And
crafty
he's
Tony.
like, when I see you, I'll beat you in your mama's ass. It's like,
Oh yeah, he definitely had some zingers out there. Yeah, Tony.
yeah.
He was always one who could uh throw some of those words out there with the best of them. Has a
Oh,
few
yeah.
classic post fight interviews as well. I got milk, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, and Ben then goes, your tick has two short planks of wood. So he could trash talk, but Chris was really terrible at trash talking.
hmm
See,
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's one of those things for sure. Man, yeah, it makes interesting memories right there. But that's the kind of stuff that kind of helps to build up some of these fights and potential rivalries and all that stuff as well. We see some of it here today that goes on and all that stuff. I like the
yeah.
back and forth that of course, Wilder
Mm.
and Fury had. Aside from sort of the varying allegations of cheating and all of that stuff. But I feel like they get a good job of
Yeah,
selling those three fights. It just seems to be kind of three different
I think.
narratives in a sense in terms of just how things went about. But I enjoyed the back and forth in the press conferences. And as we know,
Oh
Tyson
yeah,
Fury might be the top of
you
the food
big
chain as far as
dossa. You know
that.
that a lot of that war. There was
Yeah. Tyson Fury
talking.
probably at the top of the food chain as far as those trash talkers here in the sport
Yeah,
today, right?
you dossa, you big dossa.
Big Dawson. Durantes also fell out with Jackie Callan.
Yeah, Tony's career, that's funny. Hasn't been the same after he lost to Roy Jones, as you
Oh yeah,
know.
yeah.
After that, he became like, I don't know, like a persona non grata, as they call it in Latin, like an unwanted almost person, in the top.
Well,
top.
there were questions to his shape coming into that fight, right?
Yeah, yeah, of
In terms
course.
of conditioning and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
And
one of his big, how to say it,
yeah,
weaknesses. Burger
and,
King.
and yeah,
Burger
yeah.
King.
And from that point, of course, the questions never stopped. Even as he went up to heavyweight. Um,
Yeah,
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 just one of those interesting things right there. That was,
he was, he
fighters
was
have
still,
sometimes have a kryptonite. The
yeah.
weight was certainly one for Tony.
Tony was still, could have beaten almost anyone, even at heavyweight. I mean, you watch his fights with Samuel Peter and
Oh yeah, yeah,
Asim Rahman. He really gave them a lot of trouble,
yeah, yeah. And yeah, and we wouldn't say that Tony was like a big heavyweight. In
No,
the
of course not.
in a literal sense,
Five
natural sense,
ten. Yeah,
he was
I
just kind of overweight.
yeah, like I really how do you say it, blown up a fat former, I don't know, super middleweight. Let's
Yeah,
call
yeah, yeah,
it.
right. But
Yeah,
he certainly had the craftiness to be able to give any and every fighter problems, and he showed that as he rose through the ranks, and that's why
yeah.
many people still hold him in high regards to this very day, given those abilities, without a doubt.
Oh yeah, he had ability. I mean, he also was the kind of guy who could do it all, pretty much in the ring. So
hmm
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, certainly made for some interesting stuff. Uh, and then Duran Roberto said, "Sorry, middleweight from Ukraine." So Jackie, is this Jackie Callan referencing? Let me see, Jackie Callan.
and she was the manager, of Tony.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, I see. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So
she was this blonde, good-looking woman.
yeah, I see her here.
Mm. I think there was a movie actually made, I think, based on her. I don't know if they did. She was played by Michelle Pfeiffer, I believe.
Hmm.
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay, that's
And,
pretty cool. You got a
and
movie after,
yeah,
huh?
there was a character based on Tony also there.
I had
It
to
was
check that out, see what that's called. Oh,
that was
Against the Ropes.
funny.
Okay, it's 2004 film Against the Ropes with
Yeah, against the
Meg
ropes.
Ryan and Omar Epps.
Yeah. Oh, Meg Ryan, that's right, not
And you know what?
Michelle
I
Pfeiffer.
remember
Yeah.
that. I remember that actually.
Mm. I think that guy, what's his name? Omar Epps. Yeah, he played the Tony character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Omar Epps, crazy. And then Duran Roberto mentions Usyk.
Usyk, yeah, he was the guy, the Fury calls in the middleweight. Yeah, that's
Oh yeah,
right.
yeah. Okay, okay, yeah. Got you. And Usyk calls him Belly. That's what I've been
Yeah,
seeing online.
the
I'm coming for
belly.
you, Belly. That's hey,
I
that's gonna
am
be an interesting
fuel.
one. That hey, Usyk's in the gym. He looks like he's getting himself ready to go. So this is gonna be an interesting one. So it should make for a very intriguing fight. As of course we know the size and everything is gonna be on Fury's side, and he can move well and all that stuff. But
Yeah,
can he move better than Usyk? That'll be a question. And
I don't
if
think
Usyk can
so,
stay
but
away from those bombs, then
yeah.
or just some of the big, heavy, and rough stuff. I wouldn't say just overall just bombs, but if you can stay
Mm,
away from some of the rough house type stuff, then hey,
yeah.
Usyk's chance is just as good as any.
Why Steve Cunningham got he was only knocked out by Fury, but that was also because of that rough house tactics
Oh
part.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's
Duran Roberto mentions Fury calls him a middleweight, and
very tough
Duran
guy.
Roberto says I like Usyk. He's a gentleman. Indeed, indeed.
He is
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. Yeah, I like
great
Usyk
guy.
as well. And
Yeah,
one of the things that I've said and I think that Boz might have agreed, but it's better for the sport in the heavyweight division if Usyk wins as opposed to Fury, because
yeah.
that's going to open up the potential for a series of fights and others jumping
Mm,
into the mix as well to get a piece of that pie. Now,
mm,
if Fury wins, of course, then it's going to be a question of whether he feels that he's done enough to call it a career, or if he's going to continue to fight. Let's say if that's a
mm.
rematch with Usyk, or if he's going to fight Anthony Joshua or something of that nature, like a Joe Joyce or some of those other heavyweights that are out there. I feel like
Yeah.
Usyk, yeah, he's going to continue to take on whatever challenge comes about, and not that Fury wouldn't, but Fury as of late has just had so much retirement talk and a bunch of iffiness over the past
Mm.
year or so that makes you question like what happens with Fury if he does beat Usyk, you know?
Yeah, and he's been fighting, those two guys weren't exactly, especially Chisora, But I
Yeah,
think I'd say right now I don't see anybody else except for Usyk and maybe Joyce beating Fury. Those are the only two that I would actually
yeah,
favor to beat him, or say that they have a realistic chance anyway. So
yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
see what you're saying. Certainly. We know that what the series with Deontay Wilder was. I don't
mm,
know if there's anything else Deontay Wilder can do. Anthony Joshua, that was of course going to be a huge fight. Him and Fury. As a matter of fact, it's going to be a huge fight. Him and Wilder as well. Just two huge heavyweight fights that have now
yeah,
lost somewhat some luster by comparison to what they had a few years ago. But of course, if Fury took on Joshua, then the majority, of course, will be favoring Tyson Fury in that fight. And not that Joshua doesn't have a chance, because I've always felt that stylistically Joshua would have made it very interesting, but a little less so probably
yeah,
now from a confidence perspective, because Fury, of course, I think would certainly possess the type of gift of gab to be able to get into Joshua's head. And I imagine it'll be a lot of emotions leading into the actual fight, just given such.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, Joshua might be able to do something as Fury because Fury is so large. He's not Usyk. He cannot run from him. Stuff like that. And
Yeah,
but I mean, Fury has an amazing chin. He can really take a lot of punishments. So that would be
yeah,
also a hard job for Joshua. But maybe he could win like a decision or something, but he would really have to give everything.
yeah. And that may not be enough. That may not be
Yeah,
enough. Him giving everything.
exactly. If he got hit with the right punches, he can be also taken out. I mean, I mean, he
Yeah.
got taken out by Andy Ruiz Jr., so why not Fury?
Yeah, and and even Usyk was able to,
Yeah, the
especially in
first,
that first fight,
yeah.
he really kind of had Joshua's eye swollen,
Hmm.
some other
I mean,
stuff.
one more round and he would probably have stopped Joshua, So
Yeah.
that's how bad it was.
So I'd imagine that Fury, while he isn't known as a knockout puncher, he can get the job done, especially through accumulation. And we saw what he did with Dillian White here in his last fight. So he could certainly get Anthony Joshua
Yeah.
out of there for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I see, by the way, that Joe Joyce will fight. Oh, somebody calling
Oh
me.
yeah, he is fighting someone, right? Who is this? See, check
uh,
now. I saw something as well.
yeah, he's fighting Zhang, the Chinese guy,
Oh
who gave
yeah,
Ergovic
Young
really.
Gillet. So that should be a very interesting one right there. I favor Joyce, of course, but Jean Gillet, hey, he will bring it. He showed that against Filip Ergovic. Um, but I do think that Joyce, of course, is one of the top dogs right now. He's shown that he has the chin to be able to withstand pretty much any offensive arsenal thus far. I mean, he's been hit with all types of things, and man, he just keeps coming forth. So I have respect for Joyce's chin, and he's not the fastest fighter, but he is technically sound enough that he can really do some damage. And we saw the way he was able to take out Joseph Parker, and Parker was able to land some big shots of his own in that fight, but they just seemed to really not do much to Joe Joyce in the chin department. So I think that Joyce is legit. He's a legitimate threat, and now's as good a time as any. So this James Gillet fight should be very interesting. And I like James
Hmm.
Gillet. Matter of fact, I did a video on him a couple years back, and just
Yeah.
talking about the curious case of James Gillet. This guy is a good amateur, of course, on the older side as far as turning pro, similar to Joyce, I guess you can say. And we're here now where the two of them are going to meet. And Gillette and James Gillette, he has a pretty solid chin. I think it's going to be tested more than it has ever been tested now against Joyce. And if he's going to be stopped, then I think that Joyce is the one who has the potential to do so. And that should be an interesting fight, though. I like James Gillette, but I am definitely going Joyce. I just feel like he has
Hmm.
the momentum right now where
Oh
he
yeah.
doesn't seem to be one who will be denied until he gets in there with, say, a Fury.
Yeah, Chile, when he fought Hergovic, he was just doing the most eye-catching stuff, and it was
Yeah.
amazing how much he could take from Hergovic without, just without wincing even, But it wasn't until the last round I thought that Hergovic's punches started to kind of get to him,
Yeah.
but he was still he took a lot of leather there, But
Oh, yeah,
people
certainly.
forget it because it was he who gave the best punches to Ergovic. He landed the biggest ones, but
Oh, yeah,
Ergovic
yeah.
can punch also. That's the amazing thing. But anything he threw, most of it wasn't really didn't have any effect or didn't seem to have effect.
Oh, yeah, 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 certainly.
Mm.
Yeah, and that was an excellent fight. I know
Yeah,
that some people coming into it probably thought that Hergovich was going to blow James Gillette out, maybe because he hadn't
yeah,
seen him much or anything. But hey, he's a tough guy. He's actually
yeah.
he
He
has a
was.
pretty solid punch
He's
of his own, which he's shown.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like that everybody or many were saying, "Oh, Jean got robbed." I mean, I don't think so.
Yeah.
He did give a really good fight, but he still lost.
Certainly, we've seen some robberies without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, 8 rounds maybe you said. I mean, something like that. I believe I had it for, but
Mhm.
yeah, he did the best. I mean, he had the best punches and put Hergovich down and stuff like that.
Oh
Yeah,
yes, without a doubt. Certainly, Ryan Roberto says they call him the juggernaut for a reason. Guy is so durable. Yep, without a doubt. So I think that durability, man, it's just like it seems to withstand pretty much anything. So it'd be interesting. Wilder versus Joyce fight, just only from the perspective of seeing how he holds up to Wilder's punch. But thus far, man, he seems to have the type of chin that could even potentially hold up to that as well. Fury was able to do so. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes it very interesting right there. But certainly a Joyce versus Fury fight would be a very interesting fight, especially in the UK, and I think it would do some pretty solid numbers, which Tyson Fury has been able to do generally with any opponent at this point. And just to think about him and Joyce, that would be crazy. But I also think that Joyce versus Usyk would be a pretty solid fight and would do solid numbers as well, considering the history that they have back in, I guess, the World Series of Boxing, the amateur
Yeah,
side,
good,
technically, I
but a
guess.
very hard one, kind of ungrateful fight because Lucy could have just, have no chance of putting Joyce away, of course, and would have to
Yeah,
stay away from him a
it'd be
lot.
very different now for sure.
Yeah, that's why I think also Joyce has a chance to beat Fury because of his chin, and all that.
Yeah,
And he has what it takes also. I mean, he can hit and he can, fight well enough, simply.
yeah. Duran Rivera says, "Wow, yes, solid fight as you say, Usyk versus Joyce. Indeed, indeed. And you know
Mm,
what? Is say Usyk pulls off the victory. I'd imagine that's one we could potentially see, assuming Joyce gets past Jang Jalei as well. So
yeah,
then the roads would
it
seem to
should.
lead there, unless there's some kind of rematch clause or immediate rematch clause in the fight between Usyk and Fury. I remember I had saw a few weeks ago that the fight was close, or Saudi Arabia. Is that the case? Was supposed to be the place or something like that?
Yeah,
And
maybe.
so I need to double check, but maybe it's a done deal at this point. I think that the lease terms seem to be agreed to. Um,
Yeah.
Martin Dustin
Maybe.
says, signing out now, fellas. Catch you all later. Have a good night. Hey, have a good one, Martin. Appreciate you
Have a
dropping in,
good one,
buddy. Yeah,
man.
enjoy your night, without a doubt.
He's a really good dude.
Oh, yes, indeed. Indeed. Fury versus Usyk. Let
A
me see.
good
Is that a
one
done
to
deal?
have. Yeah, I see Hergovic doesn't have another fight lined up.
April
Well,
29th. So it looks like Usyk Fury, April 29th. It seems to be, well, Frank Warren says it's 100% confirmed.
the
I'm looking at
same
Arnold.
date as the Joshua Klitschko fight, I remember. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
That was 6 years now. It will be 6 years after that fight.
Oh, so
To
they're
be,
still finalizing the location, apparently out in the Middle East. Of course, Saudi Arabia
yeah,
seems like the likeliest
typical.
of places for sure, since that has been the case in some of the previous
Yeah,
instances. That seems to be the
and
hotbed money wise right now.
yeah, I mean there are some really. We're talking about heavyweights, also some great prospects, or I
Oh
mean
yeah,
contenders that are from the former Soviet Union. I would mention Jalolov. You probably heard of him, 6'7" guy from
oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I've seen him.
Bakodir or something. His first name is, I believe. And
Yeah.
also, of course, we have Makhmudov,
Oh yeah.
the Beast.
He beat Carlos Takam, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
he also,
he showed
yeah,
some stuff in that fight, because Takum's a tough sort of contender, a good measuring stick, I guess, in some sense, and he was able to, he was really able to use his tools to keep Takum at
yeah,
bay, and Takum landed a few good things, but I would think that for the most part, he had a pretty decent showing in his first time on the sort of, I guess,
mm.
main stage in that sense. So certainly more to come for him.
Yeah. See, Makhmudov is also 33 already, so it's kind of, he's in a rush to have to get a big fight. I guess, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess he's based out of Canada, right? Or at least that's where he's been fighting
Yeah,
at.
yeah,
Let me see.
Montreal, the boxing capital of Canada.
Yeah, with
Fight all over. Yeah,
Ivan Michel, big promoter out there for sure.
all right.
Let me see. Medal. Did he have anything on tap? So that took place in December of last year. Oh no, he fought. Oh yeah, Wallace. Yeah, I didn't
Walsh,
see that
yeah.
fight. I didn't
stopped
see
in
that
one
fight, but I
round.
meant to check it out. So he did fight. Yeah. So we'll see what's next for him. But I know he wants to
Mm,
get in the mix there. 16-0, 15 KOs.
yeah, and Jalolov is 12-0 with all knockouts. So
Oh yeah.
but he still hasn't fought anybody.
Where is he
Really.
from?
Uzbekistan.
Okay. Ooh,
He's fighting out of Brooklyn.
okay.
He's I don't know who his
Yeah, I
trainer is,
remember
but
seeing him
yeah,
at least once.
yeah. I hope he will be able to build a good career because not all of these great amateurs do, of course. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, he just knocked out Curtis Harper. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, interesting prospects. Then you have some other ones out there, of course. Jared Big Baby Anderson, he's going to be fighting coming up. I believe
All right.
it might be March or April.
Big.
Because Shakir Stevenson is going to be fighting someone, and Anderson's going to be the co-feature. I think it's in Newark,
Hmm.
where Stevenson is from, but he's going to be coming up. The opponent was TBA, had based on the release that I saw here a day or so ago. So it'll be interesting to see who he steps in there with. But he has a lot of promise as well. You got a heavyweight division. Hey, a lot of bright young talent that is out there looking to make a name. So
Hmm.
I think that bodes well for the future in some sense. And we still have the likes
Yeah.
of Frank Sanchez, who's out there willing and
Oh
game, I'm
yeah.
sure, to step in there with anyone. And thus far, he's shown that he's very skilled, just an all around solid boxer. And he'll be a tough outing in some sense for pretty much anyone. So it'll be good and interesting to see who he's matched up with here moving forward as well.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites right now in the heavyweight division, definitely.
Yeah, so it's just
You
a
know,
matter of so the thing about it is kind of a log jam there from a title perspective because the only route to a
hmm,
title is through Fury or Usyk. So they're gonna fight, and then it's gonna be an undisputed
yeah,
thing. And
kind of limited, yeah, way
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. So you have to stay busy, and you have to continue to look good. So you're gonna have to take on some fighters and of course some risk, and that guarantee for that title shot isn't there right now. There's pretty much a line, I would
Yeah,
say, at this point. You got Joyce, of course, who
yeah,
we've mentioned, and others who are out there. But maybe
but I
Daniel
don't think.
Dubois, who has one of those WBA titles, is someone that one of these guys can try to lobby to get
Yeah,
in the mix.
Dubois, yeah, the paper champion.
Yeah, I guess you could say so. Yeah, it's pretty. I would like to see him rematch or give that opportunity to Joe Joyce, but it doesn't look like
Yeah.
that's gonna happen anytime soon.
Well, maybe he would want it, but he knows that it will be too hard to win that fight.
Yeah,
And yeah, he's just not a boxer; he's a puncher. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I
yeah. That
think
is true.
only a boxer can beat Joyce. That's simple as that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which is what Usyk was able to do back in the World Series of boxing.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it very interesting. That's what
The
makes it
thing
very
is, I
interesting.
don't think either Usyk or Fury will fight for much longer. So back after they retire, all those titles will be up for grabs, unless they lose to someone else, of course. In the meantime,
Oh
mm,
yeah, 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 without a doubt. And I was going to mention on the heavyweight front, the American heavyweight they got there is Richard Torres, who was fighting recently um, on
oh
this
yeah,
ESPN card. He had a good little knockout there. Of course, he hasn't fought any really tough or challenging opponent
Torres.
in that sense, but they're trying to build him up. We'll see what he has in store in the future. Of course, but
Is
he's the
he
name that they're going to
from?
be fishing
Yeah,
out there. He's at the very least one of the exciting young heavyweights that is out there,
all right.
and
Richard Torres.
Richard Torres. He's a very good amateur, and he lost to someone, and he got knocked out by a Russian heavyweight who was pro at the time, but this was at an amateur tournament of some type because they allow pros to enter the amateur ranks again or whatever. I don't remember the event and who it was exactly, but
Mm,
he turned pro like a year or two ago or whatever. Torres, that is, and
mm,
decorated on the amateur side. So they're going to see what he can do as far as continue to develop. He's not a huge guy in the heavyweight sense in terms of he's about 6'2", and he's offensive, very offensive. Probably some liabilities there on the defensive side, but assuming those can be fixed and he can continue to develop, then he'll at least be, at the very least, an interesting name that is out there, especially on if you're looking for an exciting heavyweight scrap, because he certainly brings it every time out without a doubt.
yeah.
Okay, Hyphy, salute Hyphy. There you go. He said Jalolov slept his ass in the amateur, so that's who it was that knocked him out.
Hmm. I don't know really. I mean, I just heard him not so long ago, and they say he's got great potential. And I know Jamie Bourne. Shout out to Jamie Bourne for Punch
Jamie Bourne.
Perfect Boxing. He is really high on him, and he knows his stuff.
Yeah, without a doubt. Hyphy says Jalolov is going to ice Anderson if the time comes. Woo, that's going to be an interesting one right there. Hey, that will be interesting. Maybe that's a fight that we can actually see here at some point, because Anderson, from all indications, or at least what he said in the last interview, is that he's ready for some of those step up fights or some of those names that are out there. I feel like that's one that probably can be made if he wants it, and he's looking for sort of a early statement type fight. Of course, he's passed his fights thus far with flying colors, but yeah, that would certainly be one that would kind of heighten that trajectory in terms of whoever comes out of that fight with the win. Good stuff there, Hyphy. We'll see if that's a fight that can actually happen. That will be interesting to see.
Would have been really good, yeah, of course.
Yeah, both have promise, right? So
yeah, and as they say, the jury is still out on both of those guys.
yeah, yeah. That is right. But hey, the best way to find out where you can go is to test yourself against the others that are headed in that same direction, right?
Yeah, I really hate those guys who have like 35, 6 fights before they, finally test themselves. Come on.
Yeah,
What's the point?
yeah. It's an interesting thing, because, and I've seen this pointed out in some regards, like you look at when some of the guys fought. We can just go back to like say the 90s, early 2000s or whatever. I've seen some mention of stuff like when Trinidad and De La Hoya fought, the age that they were at, you know what I'm saying? It didn't, from a fight standpoint, it didn't happen when they were just later in their careers or whatever. This happened
Yeah,
early on, well, relatively, I
yeah.
guess you can say,
I
early while they
mean,
were there at their peak or whatever, not at the back end of
exactly. They
their
were like,
powers or whatever. And you saw a lot more of that during those
yeah,
periods as well.
26, I believe they were both of them, something like
Yeah.
that.
So and then you think about some of these fights getting made, and people like, oh, they need time to group. Yeah, a lot of these guys were young and they were making waves. They were taking the best fights. You think about when uh, Benitez and Leonard fought. You think about when Hearns and Leonard fought. This is going back, of course. Just think about when those guys were mixing
Oh,
it up.
yeah.
You know, it
I
wasn't.
was,
It wasn't when they were like, "Oh, we're gonna wait till we're
yeah.
seasoned and groomed and primed and ready." No, they were doing it right there. Like, "Hey, we're on a mission. We're headed in the same path. You're good right now." They're saying you got next. They're saying I got next, and we're gonna get it on
Yeah.
right. While they were right there, prime,
Oh,
ready to
yeah.
go.
Oh, yeah,
We
that's
need
right.
more of that. Duran Roberto says, "Gonna chip, gents. Thank you for listening to my input tonight. Hope to catch you next week." Thank you, buddy. Hey, appreciate you. Certainly, definitely, we'll be in the mix here next week. We want to definitely, hopefully, have you back for sure.
Great to have
More to
you
come,
here.
without a doubt.
Thanks, buddy. See you. Well,
Thank you, without a doubt. But yeah, so
yeah, I was watching. I just wanted to mention that second Leonard Hearns fight, the
okay.
other night, and I mean, man, how could you call that a draw? That was just ridiculous. I mean, I don't think I had Leonard winning more than 2 rounds or something, actually, the whole fight. And
Oh
he
yeah,
was knocked down twice as well. Come on.
yeah. I need to go check that out again. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've seen pieces of it, but I need to check that out.
maybe that could be. You could mention it to Jim and Alex has to have that fight in the next one
Oh
as a
yeah, we could
fight
do that.
night. Yeah,
We could do that. That first
fights.
one was definitive. It was a great fight. Hearns was
Really
winning, of
great
course.
fight. Yeah, really an action fight all the way
That
through.
would be a good one. It might be on that controversial listing, as a matter of fact, on the site already. So
Yeah, but Leonard, Leonard had an amazing chin. You got to give it to him. He got hit with
yeah,
some really great shots by Ernst. And
yeah, without a doubt. Yeah,
yeah,
man, yeah, he did, and yeah, you're right. You do have to give it to him. I mean, just in
yep,
general, even just when he was coming up, or when he first fought Duran, at least just
yeah,
being there in
he
the
was.
trenches with
Yeah,
Duran.
yeah. He took some also big ones there. Even though Duran is not like Ernst in terms of
Yeah,
power, but still. I mean, I must admit, I didn't like. I mean, before I remember, I didn't really like Leonard that much,
yeah,
because he was the media darling, the
yeah,
pre-boy.
yeah.
But when I really got to watch a lot of his fights or more of them, I kind of realized, man, holy shit, this guy was no joke. I mean,
The real deal, the real deal.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was
Seeing some of those
successful
early
for
fights.
a reason. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Yeah. I remember just going through a number of his earlier fights. Before he got to some of these big names, and you could just tell that, man,
yeah.
he was just different. That mix
I
of
would,
speed, and being able to put those punches together so
yeah,
sharply, bringing
the
about power, I
speed.
guess you could say.
Yeah, yeah, the speed, the power, and everything. I mean, the chin, of course, the defense, pretty good. I mean, I just wish he didn't retire so much. I wish
Oh
he
yeah,
had
yeah,
fought more, But
yeah.
that's the way it
My
was.
my favorite knockout of his might be, I think it might be the Ladunde. Let me
Oh
see.
yeah, London. Yeah, London. Yeah, that
Lalunde.
was some fight. Yeah, and a knockout. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
man.
that really. I don't think anybody expected him to knock out guys so much bigger. Even though London was like kind of weight drained, he had to go down
Oh
to
yeah, because that a catch weight.
165 or something, and he was a light heavyweight. So yeah, I know because I spoken to him about that, and
Oh, cool,
he
cool.
yeah, but he said he doesn't really regret taking the fight. Still,
Oh
that's
yeah,
pretty.
yeah, without a
Yeah,
doubt. Hey, his name gets mentioned for sure.
yeah. He entered history books. Let's face it. He,
Certainly. Yeah, that does make it very interesting for sure.
yeah,
He's in those books without a doubt. So it's one of those things.
yeah.
Yeah,
He got to knock down Leonard even. So that was an honor.
yeah. You keeping your name in the mix there.
Hmm.
But yeah, good stuff for sure. Real quick, I was gonna mention yesterday, of course. I know we didn't get to the other fights, but of course there was the zone card. I only got to see Serrano versus Erika
This,
Cruz, which uh, Amanda Serrano. That is, she became the undisputed at, I believe it's 126 or
yeah,
featherweight. So for the females, and kudos to her. She has all the belts now. Big time stuff for her. It was a great fight. As a matter of fact, a lot of back and forth. I think Toronto dominated the majority of that back and forth, but Erika Cruz, she showed she was game. She was bloody, cut, and exhausted, but she didn't give up, and it went the distance, and a lot of back and forth between the two. So kudos to Amanda Serrano. And I know Richard Hitchens, I didn't get to catch that, but I heard he looked very good in terms of dominating Balza. He didn't stop him. It was a unanimous decision, but from what I gathered, he was pretty much dominant in that victory. Then, of course, Alicia Baumgartner, she was able to win her fight. I believe she's undisputed as well now at super featherweight. So another historic moment right there. History at super featherweight for Alicia Baumgartner. So kudos to her as well. And I guess Sky Nicholson got a victory as well.
Oh, Sky Nicholson, all right.
Yeah.
Really nice. Yeah, I really like her. I mean, yeah, she can fight too, obviously, but I mean, she is really like has a pleasant, smile and all that.
Yeah.
I also like Alicia. I mean, even though she, she likes kind of sometimes to talk some trash, but that's the way it is in boxing now. But she's a crush.
They mentioned that potential rematch between her and Michaela Mayer. I think that back and forth would be crazy. So I'm for it for sure.
Yeah, she's just someone who obviously works hard, she's got the talent, but she's a hard worker, definitely.
Yeah, and they did mention also, I think it's May 20th, but Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor. The second fight, which was one of the fights of the year last year. You could argue the fight of the year. They really brought it in a major way, and I think this is going down in Ireland. I think it's May 20th.
Because the first, because the first fight was in New York, right?
Yeah, and interestingly enough, Katie Taylor's first fight as a professional in her hometown or home country in general, I believe.
Yeah, she comes from this small town, I think, in Ireland, Bray or something.
That is right, Bray, Ireland.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah, it's not a big town anyway. I don't know how big it is, but it's not very big. Anyway.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. So that is some of the stuff on tap. That was kind of the weekend stuff as far as what is coming up. Really quick, if we can tap into that. It looks like we're going to have a pretty solid fight on the 11th. It's going to be Ray Vargas against Oshaki Foster, WBC Super Featherweight Championship. That should be a very interesting fight. Of course, Vargas is a long and lean super featherweight. Oshaki Foster, solid boxer. I think all around skill-wise, he's very good. Should be interesting.
Yeah, Ray Vargas is a kind of a dodgy fighter, tricky fighter, and he's still undefeated, is he?
Yeah, he's managed to continue to be undefeated. It seemed like he was like kind of out of the spotlight for a little bit, and then he popped right back in and picked up where he left off. I guess you could say. So
he's like 36-0 something, I think. He's
36-0. So Oshaki Foster 19-2. Oshaki's a very good boxer. Matter of fact, he's going to be the bigger fighter. So 5'9". Yeah, Ray Vargas is up in weight because he started out.
Right. And the guy that Vargas beat, Maxeo, he's also got a fight coming up against Brandon Figueroa, actually.
Oh wow!
That's
okay.
Big one. Yeah.
That should be a test.
Yeah, I saw that Maxeo Vargas fight, and even though Vargas did win, I mean, Maxeo really shook him and he put him down once he really made
heck of a performance for sure. So that should make it very interesting because Brandon Figueroa is a guy who likes to get in there and bang despite his length and size. So that's going to be a pretty exciting fight, I believe.
He's the little brother of Omar. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Omar Figueroa, who hopefully is done trying to box.
Yeah. Yeah, he seems to be the one who will probably have a better career. Even though Omar first kind of had a pretty good career, but he never really took off.
Yeah, certainly. So this is going to be on Showtime. This card, Barrios is going to be making a return. Mario Barrios.
Oh yeah.
Then on
tall
Then
guy.
on the same day, this is the 11th. There's going to be a card on Sky Sports. Azim, I've seen Azim. Can't remember his first name. What is his first name? But he's going to be taking on someone by the name of Santos
Az-
Reyes. So Adam Azim. So
Azim the Dream.
yeah. So Adam Reyes. Adam Azim taking on Santos Reyes. Reyes is looks like Nicaraguan. If
Oh
I'm
yeah,
looking at the flag, I think he's
those
Nicaraguan.
guys.
He's
Yeah,
12 and
those
0.
guys can fight also. Usually, yeah,
12 and 0.
Adam Azim. That's right, the
Yeah,
guy
yeah.
from UK.
So
Yeah.
that's
Hmm.
going to be a Sky Sports card. I don't know if I'll be able to check it out, but I'll try to. And then we
Yes,
have Anthony
that's
Sims Jr. You know him? Remember him? He was with
well.
Kronk Gym, and he's with the Zone for a while. And he got dropped by, or not the Zone, he was with Matchroom, got dropped by Matchroom at some point. But he has the look and feel of he had that look and feel of a fighter who was supremely talented and very skilled. And
The magician. That's him, right?
yeah, he hadn't been able. Of course, some would argue it isn't as
Oh yeah,
exciting, doesn't go for it like
I
that. But
think
man, he has the look, feel, and skill of one of those guys who could make some major
hmm,
noise. You know what I'm saying?
he's also got a lot of knockouts so far. Hmm.
Yeah. So we'll see how he looks. But he's intending to fight. There's going to be a card on the 17th. Looks like it's smaller. David Adelaide going to make his return at some point. And of course, Saturday the 18th, you got Lay Wood versus Mauricio Lara. That should be a banger without a doubt. And
Yeah, sure. That
that's
would
on the
be
Zone.
really. Can't wait to see that fight. Wow,
Oh, and
man.
even on the undercard, you have Coley versus Flores. What is it? What is
Cool.
Coley?
Oh
He
yeah.
looks nice.
Oh,
Gary Coley.
cool. Yeah. All right.
He's looked pretty
Hmm.
good, and he's an exciting fighter to watch. Gary Cully, he's going to be on the undercard as well as Dalton Smith, who I like
Is
Dalton Smith
he?
as well.
Maybe he is related to Darrell Coley. You remember that guy? Is he?
No, I don't.
He was like a welterweight who fought De La Hoya. He was knocked out, I believe.
Oh,
That
okay. Was
I
he from the
believe that.
UK?
No, he's from USA.
Oh no, yeah, this Cully is from Ireland, I believe.
Oh yeah, well they are not related. Related,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. But man, hey, Cully, if you catch that one, I think you've probably seen him before. He's pretty solid though in terms of he's looked pretty good so far.
How
Um,
is his last name spelled?
Cully.
Cull. All right,
He's
LLY.
tatted up. He's got a lot of tattoos, like covered.
Yeah, right. I got it now. Yeah, he's a tall. Wow. Oh man, he's a
He's looked pretty
lightweight.
impressive.
Shit, he's 6'2". That's
Yeah,
crazy.
he's looked pretty impressive so far. He seems to have a good
Yeah, man.
sense of himself in terms of using his range and everything, setting up his knockouts.
You
So,
know, Miguel Vasquez, he should really retire. I see he was knocked out by Cully.
oh
That's so,
yeah. That's kind of his signature win thus far. I
yeah,
guess you
but
could say from a name perspective, Miguel Vasquez.
yeah, he has
Um,
been. I mean,
he's been
past this.
robbed before too, a couple times, but
Yeah,
in terms of
Vasquez had a pretty good career, but that was a long time ago now.
yeah, he's a little bit over it right now, but he got robbed against Louis Ritson not too long ago.
Yeah,
That was in
Ritson.
2020. So he was
Yeah,
looking good
Ritson is.
there.
He's just proven to be kind of overrated, I
Oh, he
think.
fought here yesterday, as a matter of fact. So yeah, he probably should retire. He lost to someone in Germany, Timo Schwartz.
Oh yeah, Schwarzkopf. I've heard of him. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so Miguel Vasquez, yeah, he's put in a lot of work. Yeah, it's probably about that time for sure.
Nice.
Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. That's where he's from. But that's good stuff.
Guadalajara.
But cool. Well, man, good show. We're at hour 23. I think that's probably reasonable in some sense,
Yeah, it is.
considering our previous trajectories. But I guess we can wrap this thing up. Of course, a lot of great action. Salute to all those that came through for sure. Martin Dunstan, Duran Roberto, Big Fish Vega, Hyphy,
Hmm.
Lane, Lane
Thank you
99.
guys.
Salute for sure. Everyone, Rodolfo Rivera Jr., everyone that
Hmm.
dropped by. Of course, we always love to have those engaging discussions. A great thing keeps us coming into the mix, makes it exciting for sure. And of course, we will be back. So tune in next week,
Yeah,
and we have some boxing action coming up. So that means more to talk about for sure. Any closing
yeah.
thoughts here, Boz?
Fortunately, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Hyphy says peace, y'all. But yeah, yeah,
Peace, man.
salute to you, Hyphy. Appreciate you dropping in, buddy. But yeah, we'll be in the mix there. So check the channels, check out the Boxing Haven, of course, there on Facebook, and then Boz's channel as well. We'll tag him in this, and then yeah, I'll be dropping some stuff here on the 86 boxing thing, primarily related to the history. So
Yeah.
be on the lookout for that. We got a little Patty Ryan video coming up. Something
Hmm.
small, to the
Nice.
point. But yeah, good stuff though. Everyone enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yeah. Enjoy your weekend, guys. See you.